Have you ever wanted your own TV show? Have you dreamed of showcasing your talent for the world to see? Well, now you can. Have your own TV show. You can have your own 30-minute show. Not only will you be seen in the Detroit area, but you can be viewed worldwide. Be seen on WHPR Detroit Live, Comcast Cable Channel 91, on the web at TV33WHPR.com, with the TV33 app, on Roku, Google TV, Apple TV, and on Amazon Fire TV. Act now. Time slots are limited. Sign up today and get a free replay with the purchase of your time slot. For more information, call 313-868-6612. Visit our studios and receive a free TV interview to promote your business, church, or organization by appointment only.
Good morning and welcome to Highland Park Highlights. My name is Rod Liggins and I'll be your host this morning. You can expect a very hot week this week. The temperatures were already on the rise yesterday and it's supposed to get higher throughout the week. We're not expecting a lot of rain or much rain at all, but you can expect some very high temperatures in the low to mid 80s and possibly even hitting 90 before the week is out. So you want to make sure you're dressed appropriately. You can keep the winter coat and the sweaters away, but once again, you live in Michigan, so you just never know. So we want to get into some of the news headlines that occurred over the past few days, and including today. Fully vaccinated Americans can now safely share their masks and skip social distancing. That's according to the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention. This began to spark a flurry of questions about how the new guidelines will be implemented at businesses, schools, and other places where fully vaccinated and unvaccinated people mingle. We have all longed for this moment when we can get back to some sense of normalcy, said the CDC director. Based on the continuing downward trajectory of cases, the scientific data on the performance of our vaccines and our understanding of how the virus spreads, that moment has come for those who are fully vaccinated. Governor Gretchen Whitmer said this Friday that Michigan will follow the federal recommendation, announcing that as of this past Saturday morning, anyone who is fully vaccinated can shed their masks in public, both indoors and outdoors. Fully vaccinated people can go out, even in crowds, without wearing a mask or social distancing, and resume activities that you did prior to the pandemic. You can take off your mask in most places, indoor and outdoor, though there are exceptions. In hospitals and other healthcare settings, mask requirements still apply for staff, patients, and visitors, no matter the person's vaccination status. The same goes for when you're using public transportation, such as planes, trains, buses, and at prisons, jails, and homeless shelters. Fighting in the Gaza Strip has flattened buildings and killed nearly 200 Palestinians and creating tensions in Metro Detroit ahead of President Joe Biden's visit this Tuesday. Yesterday, several hundred people gathered for a Justice for Jerusalem march at the Ford Community and Performing Arts Center in Dearborn to stand in solidarity with the Palestinians as Israel's prime minister signaled the fourth war with Hamas, as Hamas also pressed on, launching rockets towards civilian areas in Israel. Hamas is the militant group that rules Gaza. At least 188 Palestinians have been killed in hundreds of airstrikes in Gaza, including 55 children, 33 women, with 1,230 people wounded. 8 people in Israel have been killed in some of the 3,100 rocket attacks launched from Gaza, including a 5-year-old boy and a soldier. U.S. Rep. Rashida Tlaib, the daughter of Palestinian immigrants, spoke before the march in Dearborn on Sunday. She stated they can never take away our dignity because we're seeing it around. We are growing to a movement that will not look away towards the truth. 50 years ago this Friday, the canon of popular music got one of its most significant works straight from Detroit. On May 21st, 1971, Motown Records released Marvin Gaye's What's Going On album several months after its groundbreaking title track had streaked to the top of the charts. The 50th anniversary will be an occasion for the world to mark Gaye's timeless and timely masterwork, not least in the city where the album was born. The Motown Museum will present specially tailored Marvin Gaye tours from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on this coming Friday, taking visitors through the West Grand Boulevard studio and complex where What's Going On took flight. The 90-minute experience will include Motown guests sharing stories of the album and reflections on Marvin Gaye. Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan will be joined by Highland Park Mayor Hubert Yap and Hamtramck's Mayor as they announce plans for the Joe Louis Greenway today. The 27.5-mile Greenway will connect the three cities and will be named after the late great boxer Joe Louis, who made Detroit his home. The city of Detroit will be well represented at the National Basketball Hall of Fame in the fall. Former Detroit Country Day standout and University of Michigan star Chris Webber and former Detroit Pistons center Ben Wallace are just two of the class that will be inducted in the 2021 class this September. Webber, who was Rookie of the Year, was the number one pick by the Orlando Magic in 1991's NBA draft. He was immediately traded to the Warriors, but Webber lasted only one season with the Warriors. Golden State then traded Webber to the Washington Bullets, where he also made one All-Star game. In May of 1998, the Bullets traded Webber to the Kings, where he turned into a star. Webber made 4 straight All-Star games in Sacramento. Over 7 seasons with the Kings, he averaged 23.5 points, more than 10.5 rebounds, and almost 5 assists per game. He was a 5-time All-Star and 5-time All-NBA selection. Ben Wallace was a key player as center for the Detroit Pistons during their 2004 championship run. Wallace was a key player, and he also was a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. Those are our news highlights. When we come back, we're going to talk about getting back to the normalcy and primarily talking about finding jobs and looking for work. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Finally, I just got my COVID-19 vaccine.
I registered with my local health department and they called me.
I got mine at the pharmacy and my neighbor got hers from the hospital.
I'm not a techie person, so I called the COVID hotline and they helped me schedule an appointment.
Get vaccinated with the first vaccine you can. Protect us all.
Learn more at michigan.gov/COVID vaccine.
I'm joined today by Maureen Taylor and Louis Pisker to let you know about a new financial empowerment center located in the Wayne County Treasurer's Office.
Do you know someone, family or friends, that need help with finances? Do you know people having trouble making ends meet, especially with property taxes or other payments? The Detroit Financial Empowerment Center can help. Treasurer Sabri invites you to visit the new Financial Empowerment Center, 400 Monroe, on the 5th floor in downtown Detroit.
We've partnered with the Wayne County Treasurer's Office and the City of Detroit to provide free one-on-one financial counseling to help you address problems related to utility bills, property or income taxes, credit repair, and other financial matters. Our professional counselors can also help you plan your monthly budget and increase your credit score.
This service is available to all Wayne County residents. For free and private financial counseling, contact the center at 313-322-6222 and make an appointment today.
Can I ask you a question? Why'd you get vaccinated?
Because I am pregnant and we wanted to protect our baby boy.
To keep my family members healthy and traveling the world.
Why did you get vaccinated?
I believe in the science.
I want a happy, healthy world.
Protect my friends and help our community.
Be able to hug my mom again. Haven't been able to hug her in over a year.
I want to hug my grandma again.
This was a dose of hope.
And I'm ready to get back to somewhat normal.
Get the vaccine.
Good morning and welcome back to Highland Park Highlights. Before we took the last break, I said we wanted to get back to a new normal. One of those ways to do that is to get vaccinated. Tomorrow is May 18th, and you can come out and get your free Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine between the hours of 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. at the Ford Rec Center on 10 Pickens Street. We're asking all of those who have not been vaccinated to come out. We're also asking that if you've gotten your first dose, please come out to get your second dose so that you're fully vaccinated against the coronavirus. This is important because you saw in the ads during the break in the public service announcement that people are trying to get back to what they used to do. That means being back to engaging with family and friends and getting together in close quarters, but the best way to do that is to get vaccinated. So again, tomorrow, May 18th, you can receive your Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. Walk-ins are welcome, and that'll be taking place between the hours of 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Ford Rec Center on 10 Pitkin Street. Please come out and please bring someone with you, and also let folks know that this is available to them. And I know there is some hesitancy and you may have some questions or concerns. You can actually come out and speak to someone at the vaccination site, and hopefully all your questions will be answered. But again, the goal is to make sure everyone gets vaccinated. There are even efforts where those as young as 12 years old can get the vaccine. So we want to make sure that all of those who are able to come out and get their vaccination. Now, I was talking earlier about getting back to normalcy, and one of those things is by way of employment. I know that last year, 2020, at the start of the pandemic, thousands and even millions of people lost their jobs or were unemployed for several months and even longer. And the search has been on to find jobs, either the jobs they lost or finding a new job. I can let you know that the Wayne County Sheriff's Department will be hosting a job fair. They're looking for a few good recruits to be on the sheriff's deputies team. That will take place on May 22nd from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Greater Emmanuel Institutional Church of God in Christ, and that's located at 19190 Schaefer Highway in Detroit. Again, that's May 22nd from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. The Wayne County Sheriff's Department will be hosting a job fair looking for Wayne County Sheriff's deputies, and that will take place at the Greater Emmanuel Institutional Church of God in Christ at 19190 Schaefer Highway. Starting pay is $35,687. And also there, and staying into the same realm of law enforcement, the Highland Park Police Department as well as the Detroit Police Department are looking for a few officers. You can go to their respective websites to find out more information. But as we look and we go more into the early weeks and months into the summer season, a lot of young people will be looking for employment, as well as some of us adults and some of us who have had jobs for 15, 20 years or more, and now have to re-enter the job market due to the job losses from the pandemic. So I want to start first with the young people. Now, I can just tell you that a few days ago, I was coming out of my house, and this young man came up to me, looked like he was maybe all of 8 or 9 years old, and he asked could he cut my grass, and he said he could do it without me having to do it, and he would make sure it's done right and clean it up. And he would only charge me $25 for the service. And I told him right now I'm able to do it, so I appreciate it, but I encouraged him to keep doing that and keep going out and asking others, because there were some folks that could use that service, but they were unable to go out and do their own landscaping. My focus and my interest in him piqued my curiosity, because I wanted to make sure that those who have a specific skill that people could use, now would be the time to put that into action. We have young people who are looking for work, and there are different programs throughout the summer, but there are also some things that young people can do as far as running errands for those who can't get out or who choose not to get out. I know of several young people in their teens. They've gotten together and they help. They go buy groceries, they pick up medications, they just make sure that things are done in their neighborhood, and then they with the help of some adults, they even expand to go do things in other communities and other neighborhoods, and it's become quite profitable for them. You've seen the Uber and Lyft programs where you can get taken to and from places similar to the way just calling a cab used to be. But now you can also get food and groceries delivered the exact same way. So these young people have taken the initiative to get in on that market. And because they know the seniors in their neighborhood, because they know those who can't or won't get out or unable to get out, these are young people who are really excited about being of service to their community and also making a few bucks in the meantime. There are some other folks who may be in college or college students, and I've seen signs come up all across Highland Park and Metro Detroit, and I'm seeing signs where you can get a signing bonus just to get a job, just to sign up to work. And I'm not talking about in a Fortune 500 company. I'm seeing these signs popping up in front of restaurants because a lot of people have not returned to the jobs, even though the jobs are there. And it's been primarily because of the low pay. Some have said that, well, people don't want to come to work because they can make more money on unemployment. Well, that statement is true in detail. But when you look at it, if someone's trying to feed their family and they're only making under $3 an hour plus tips, and then they have a set amount that they're eligible for due to the pandemic and being out of work, those are some things that employers are going to have to take a look at and look at the wages they were paying pre-pandemic and looking at finding ways to increase those wages as we hopefully are entering into the final weeks and months and even year into this pandemic. The focus has got to be more about not just paying something, but you need to pay something called a living wage. And let me explain to you what that means. You should be able to, whatever job that you have, be able to afford to live someplace, to pay for transportation, to have food and clothing, and be able to pay your utilities without feeling like you're under the gun or you're just one paycheck away from a total collapse of your finances. And these are some of the reasons why you hear about people saying that we need to have a $15 an hour minimum wage. Now, for some, that may be a shock. They may say, wow, that's a lot of money. But if you look at the fact that the minimum wage is still under $10 in 2021, and I can remember, starting out years ago, making $3 to $5 an hour, and it's only gone up about $4 to $5 in the past 20 years. And you and I both know that if you could find work that paid more, you would go for that because you want to provide for yourself, and if you have a family, for your family as well. But we can't do that when you're nickel and diming your employees and you expect them to work not just a 40-hour week. Some folks are working 6, 7 days, 9, 10-hour days, and they're having to spend their money on daycare because they can't be there with their family, even on some weekends, because they need to make the money. So this is why I say that these are some of the things that employers need to take a look at in order to provide a living wage for those who are working. When you look at the cost of rent skyrocketing in Highland Park and in the metropolitan area here, you want to ensure that your employers are able to successfully take care of themselves and their family and be able to pay their bills and also be able to have something saved. We talk about right now the interest rates on loans are at record low levels, but if you're unable to have the dollars to be able to afford to get a mortgage or afford to get a car loan, you're constantly at the mercy of public transportation, as I stated before, the Uber or Lyft programs, or trying to find other means to get to and from work. The focus has to be more about how to have someone who is not just saying they have a job. And that's the thing that more people are looking at now, is when they look at the unemployment rate, it's not that these people are working, but how many of them are working a job where they can fully afford to take care of themselves and their families. And God forbid, if a calamity happens, such as a car accident, a medical procedure is needed, and there are no benefits, and this person or these people have to find ways to pay it out of their own pockets. These are just some of the things that go into someone's decision to say that they would consider staying on unemployment until they can find a job that would adequately satisfy their expenses. Now, this doesn't mean going out and trying to find a way to live outside of your means. If you're making $2,000 a month, and that's a hypothetical number, and your rent is $1,000, you have a car note of $300 or $400, and insurance is another couple of hundred, you're already behind the 8 ball, because now you only have about $200 for gas, food, and utilities. And we haven't even talked about clothing or anything that you can put away for savings. But what we're talking about is someone who is attempting to use whatever skill set they have or learn on the job in order to have a job where they can successfully pay the expenses that they create. And I've talked to a number of folks in all different facets up and down the socioeconomic demographic, and the same thing remains, is those that were getting a decent wage and some an above middle class wage, they saw that wiped out in 2020 because of the pandemic. And I was talking to some folks recently, as now we're into today is the last day to file your taxes. So I know a lot of people are realizing that they've exhausted the savings that took them several years to save. They have exhausted their 401k because they were allowed to take it out without penalty. And now those dollars are also gone because there wasn't a backup plan outside of the unemployment that folks were applying for and are still collecting to this day. So the focus about getting yourself ready for employment is a major topic. And I've talked with a number of folks who were they clean up restaurants, or they work the cashier, all the way up to managing a business or having white collar employment opportunities, to only see them phased out because people were not spending as much money during the pandemic as they were the years prior. So a number of people have looked at finding other career opportunities. Some have started their own work from home businesses, and most of us who have still have jobs, you'll find yourself on Zoom or Facebook Live or doing something virtually, because meeting face to face still is not advised, because not everyone is vaccinated for the coronavirus. So when we come back, we're going to talk about more different opportunities and ways that you can make a living, and some ways make a great living, but you have to make sure that you've gotten yourself prepared for that position. So be sure to come right back, and we'll have more tips and opportunities right after these messages.
I've always been a runner, but I've never run from anything, and neither has my city.
Do you want to be a Detroit police officer?
Sir, yes, sir! Up! Amen!
It's something special to protect the people closest to you, the ones you've known all your life, your neighbors, your friends. I was born in this city, and I'm not going anywhere. This is my home. That's why I wear the shield.
Got your lifetime supply of Viagra right here.
Give me that. How dare you open my package?
Hey, what you doing with all them pills for anyway, old? Oh, man, I ain't never took you as a sucker for them pharmaceutical companies. Always trying to sell you some synthetic chemical that don't do nothing but make you sicker. Now, this right here, this all the medicine I need.
What is that? Is that Divine Relief?
This is all the medicine I need.
Divine Relief Rubbing Oil. Available at Super Kelly Beauty Supply, Healthwise Enterprise, Hollywood Beauty Supply.
If you or someone you know is facing eviction and has a notice to quit or a court order summons, complaint, or judgment, there is help to avoid eviction. Call the Detroit Eviction Helpline at 866-313-2520 or visit DetroitEvictionHelp.com. The City of Detroit with the State of Michigan have eviction prevention programs to assist Detroit residents with financial assistance and legal representation. Again, Detroiters can call 866-313-2520 or visit www.DetroitEvictionHelp.com. That's 866-313-2520 or go online to DetroitEvictionHelp.com. Again, Detroiters can call 866-313-2520 or visit www.DetroitEvictionHelp.com. 866-313-2520. Get help today.
It's time for your company to make the next big step. Hire a knowledgeable, experienced, and connected firm. Mario Morrow and Associates is a trusted media and public relations firm. We understand your vision and your industry. We'll provide strategic marketing, digital and social media, image building, and reputation management. Contact Mario Morrow and Associates, where success rules and results matter. Learn more at mariomorrow.com.
And welcome back to Highland Park Highlights. We're talking about job opportunities and how to get yourself prepared for those. As I stated earlier, the Wayne County Sheriff's Department will be hosting a job fair for sheriff's deputies. That will take place on May 22nd between the hours of 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. And that's going to be held at the Greater Emmanuel Institutional Church of God in Christ. That's at 19190 Schaefer Highway in Detroit. And the starting pay is about $35,687. But as we were talking before, there's also questions that you need to ask yourself. Are you able to go back and get the job that you had pre-pandemic, or do you need to prepare yourself for a new job market, especially for those that have not had a job in the past few years? Or if you've had a job where you were the breadwinner for, in excess of 15 to 20 years, and now having to prepare yourself for a new job market because the job that you thought you were going to have is no longer there. So these are just some of the things that you need to take into consideration and ways you get yourself prepared. I can tell you right now, just off of seeing a few job ads as I prepared for this show and just being out and about, there are some trucking companies that are offering anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 in signing bonuses, primarily to get folks ready for driving a truck in and around the state and across state lines, because that's a big deal where certain components in the automobile industry are having a hard time being delivered. There are also some components of things for a variety, just the things that you would find in supermarkets and other outlets. They're having a hard time keeping their stock in because they're having a hard time finding truck drivers. So this is just one of the things, and if you've never thought about it, and I can tell you I've never thought about becoming a truck driver, but I can tell you when you see someone willing to offer you $10,000 just to have gone through the training and taking on driving, and normally when you start out, they don't send you someplace far away. Primarily, you're doing a job where you're staying mostly in-state. But whether you're crossing state lines or not, a lot of job opportunities out here have a lot of capital that they're willing to share to get qualified employees to come in and do jobs. One of the biggest employers right now is Amazon. And if you've seen or heard the stories, or you may be one of those folks working from home or folks who have access to the internet, they're spending more time online shopping than ever before. People weren't going to brick and mortar stores like they were because of the pandemic, but we had already seen a shift over the past few 5 or 10 years where more online shopping was taking place, when you can have something shipped directly to your home, and you could do, maybe a day's or a week's worth of shopping, and those products can be delivered right to your front door. Well, somebody's got to bring those. Someone has to deliver those. And that means you have to have a clean and a good driving record. There are jobs that will require you, especially for those in the automotive industry and others, where you may be required to take a drug test. And we talked about this a few weeks ago with the legalization of recreational marijuana. That still does not mean that you cannot lose a job opportunity or lose your job if your employer decides to do either drug testing on the front end or random drug testing once you're in the job. The focus has to be keeping yourself clean, because they're putting a lot of money into you, not just the salary, but the training on the job, making sure that you have what you need to do the job well. And something as simple as driving a bus or delivering letters to a mailbox, once again, you're going to want somebody who's sober and clear of thought and clear-minded, so that they can get that job done well and not put themselves or others in harm's way. So we got to know and understand how this works. The same way, if you had a job that you could not show up intoxicated, you also want to make sure that you have control of your faculties and you're not consuming, even though it's legal now, recreational marijuana or any type of drug, in a sense that it is outside of a doctor's prescription. But let's get back to how we go about finding these jobs. Now, you can go on to Indeed, LinkedIn, and there's quite a few other places where you can find employment. But the question is, how have you spent this time, this past year or just over a year during the pandemic? I've talked to a number of people who've said they've started businesses from their own home. I've talked to some folks who they have done tutoring by way of the virtual access through the computer and the internet. I know of folks who've started selling baked goods on the internet and by word of mouth, and for different events. We're coming up on and already are entered into the graduation season. There is a wedding season and things of that sort, where people just want to get together and celebrate. And I've noticed that a number of people have become internet savvy, for lack of a better phrase, on how to get their products out in front of those who are seeking to have them. These are just some of the ways that people are working to make sure that they are able to take advantage of all of their skill sets and actually bring in additional income. I read a story over the weekend about a lady who had, this was several years ago, she had a degree in journalism and had worked several internships, but she did not find that ideal job that she was looking for. So she decided to start selling aromatherapy type products with potpourri and scented candles and crystals and things of that sort. And she realized that even with the job that she had begun to make more in the neighborhood of $10,000 to $12,000 a month, when it took her about 2 months or more to make that during her regular 9-to-5 job. Fast forward to 2021, she's let go of the 9-to-5 and she's doing that, what we call a side hustle, now full time, and she's pulling in about $60,000 a month. And I'm not saying that's the goal and the way to go for everyone, because she talks about how she had to get a web designer to design her website. She had to make sure that she had a good supplier that could provide her with the products, and not just provide the products, but provide them at a low cost wholesale so that she could make a profit by selling them retail. She also had to look at ways of taking care of postage and delivery and how to package the products before they were being shipped out. These are just some of the things that this person was able to look into, and actually a hurdle that she was able to overcome because she had done her research and she took her time with it, and she really has now a profitable business that could expand even greater because so many people are at home and they're working from home and they're living in the house. There are times when if you had a stressful job outside the house, you would come home for peace. But when you're working from home and the kids are there and you have your spouse there and you have the dog there or the cat there, everything now is in that house. So you have to really search and work to find a peace and a location of comfort, because those are the things that really can make your house a home, is being able to relax and kick back once the workday is over. Even I myself, having several Zoom meetings a day and multiple phone calls when I'm home, and then you're trying to be creative in some other things, and it seems like when you look up, it's 9 in the morning, when now it's 9 at night, and all you've been doing is working. So you have to make sure you're carving out time if you decide to work from home. And we've gotten a crash course in that. And a lot of folks will tell you they were not ready for it. They were not used to trying to handle the details of their employment while being at home with either, you could be taking care of your parents, you could be taking care of your children. And there are just a variety of things at the house that you will tend to do. And even like this, I'm in a studio and you see this beautiful background. But if you were at my house and I was in, let's say, the dining room of my house, the kitchen would be in the background, you'd see a sink full of dishes. So you want to make sure at all times you're giving your professional best and making sure that whatever you're doing in front of that camera shows you at your best opportunity, or your best looking, your speech is on point, and there's very little distractions. I've seen on different social media posts where someone is hosting a Zoom meeting or an online virtual meeting, and the child comes in. They don't know what's going on. They're like, "Mommy, I want cereal. Mommy, can we go outside? Daddy, can I?" And that's not something that parents were used to working outside the house, but we're having to find things to do things differently. As I stated before, did you spend this time learning maybe a new language? We're living in a very diverse society, and I know folks have been learning to speak a language other than English so that they are able to expand their customer base. In a previous employment, we had everything written in English, and we found that in Hispanic communities, there was not a lot of activity, and when we went to find out, there was a language barrier. The same with the Middle Eastern communities or the Bengali communities. Any communities where English is a second language, you want to make sure you have your materials that can be utilized and be read by all people of all backgrounds, because that's how you grow your customer base. It's not just about reading and understanding a single language. You also want to make sure that how you show your product. If you want a diverse customer base, you have to show that in your promotion and your graphics. You don't want to see a picture of just children if you're trying to get adult customers. You don't want to show solely seniors, but you want younger people to be a part of your customer base as well. You have to do your homework. You have to do your research. And you want to make sure that you've covered every base as it relates to you expanding your business, either as an entrepreneur or working for someone. Even working from home, you can catch the eye of your supervisor, your leader, your boss by showing and coming up with ways that the business can grow. I know that a lot of times we think that, well, I'm just going to do this report, turn it in, and wait for the next report, do that one and turn it in. But if you're looking to find ways to advance in the corporate world, you want to bring more than just, well, I did what was asked of me. You want to make sure you're going above and beyond. And that's in pretty much all aspects as well. I got to know things, and you get to know people, and maybe that executive is not the person that you can reach, but maybe the deputy manager or maybe the junior vice president or junior account exec. They can be a source of information. But you want to know all about and find out what you can about those people and those companies that are hiring, because that's the background that they're going to look for you. They want you not to just talk about yourself, but also to talk about what you know about the company that you're interviewing with, because it doesn't make sense to apply for a job and you can't tell that person, or if it's a group interview, you can't tell them what you know about what their business is. Before we go to our next break, I want to remind you that you can come out tomorrow at the Ford Rec Center on 10 Pitkin Street between the hours of 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and get your Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine shot. Whether you've had the first one or you need a first one or you're coming in for your second dose, walk-ins are welcome, but please make sure you come out to get vaccinated. And that's tomorrow between the hours of 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. at the Ford Rec Center on 10 Pitkin Street here in Highland Park. When we come back, we'll have some more tips and ideas on how you can land the job you're looking for with the pay that you want. So be sure to come back.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get vaccinated?
Try to get back to some type of normal life.
Tired of being cooped up.
I love to travel and I'm ready to get back to it. I like to get back to my grandmother's hugs.
I really like being around people.
It's not the same doing it virtually. We miss the touch and then dancing together and laughing together and singing together.
Why did you get vaccinated?
It gives us hope.
Oh, the shot is giving me a peace of mind.
Hey, Granny, I'm coming to hug you one day soon.
Hi, this is LaWanda.
This is RJ Watkins.
Coming to you to bring you some information about the #1 detox in the nation, Lemon Burn. Lemon Burn helps to turn the fat into fit. It's for you, a happier, healthier you. Because you know healthy is the new beautiful. An all-natural way to improve your health. It promotes a healthy digestive system, attacks and reduces belly fat, as well as gives you energy. Need to get yours today. Call 313-868-6612.
Don't forget to exercise and eat right.
I'm attorney Carl Collins III. I'm attorney Carl Collins III. Hello, I'm attorney Carl Collins III. If you've been injured and you need help, make the best call on your worst day. Call me at 855-CAR-HIT-YOU. That's 855-CAR-HIT-YOU.
Good morning, Highland Park, and welcome back to Highland Park Highlights. We've been talking this morning about getting yourself ready for a new job, returning to your old job, or just finding employment during a pandemic here in 2021. As I stated earlier, the Wayne County Sheriff's Department will be hosting a job fair for Wayne County Sheriff's deputies, and that's going to be held on May 22nd between the hours of 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., and that will be held at the Greater Emmanuel Institutional Church of God in Christ, and that can be found at 19190 Schaefer Highway. Starting pay is $35,687. As I stated also, that both the City of Highland Park and the Detroit Police are hiring for law enforcement as well. And you may ask yourself, why would you want to go into a field that at the present time is always in the news negatively, most of the time, or it's being reported more about those who don't do their job well behind the badge as opposed to those who do? Well, the focus, first of all, can be you can be that change that you're looking for. Now, we have not heard about the types of activities that and relates to abusive actions by law enforcement here in Highland Park, Metro Detroit, or even across the state or in the county. But there are stories out there, and there are some that may not be reported or uncovered as yet. But we know that in law enforcement, there has been a serious issue relating to African Americans or people of color being stopped by police, and a civil infraction such as speeding or running a stop sign can turn deadly for both law enforcement and those behind the wheel. And we know that for the most part, law enforcement officers, they're trained to protect and serve. So when we hear about these instances, it can make you have a jaded view of those who go out and do that particular job day in and day out. They put on their uniform, their badge, and their weapons. But the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, there are far more good quality law enforcement officers, men and women, black and white, and a variety of other ethnic backgrounds who do their job in a respectful manner than those who we've seen being charged with crimes or not being charged, even though evidence shows that there may have been, or in some cases, some folks would say should have been, criminal charges filed because it led to either the shooting or the shooting death of those behind the wheel. Now, this is not to say that officers are randomly just going out harassing and shooting and kneeling on folks and things of that sort. But we have seen this, and with the advent of the camera phones, we're seeing it more and more. And in the electronic age, we see news as it happens. We have literally seen news that can happen at noon, and you're seeing it at about 12:05 or 12:30. So these are just some of the things that, as a law enforcement officer or someone looking into going into the field of law enforcement, you can be the one to come in and make sure that you are upholding the law and not any personal biases or prejudices against someone that looks like you, or in a lot of cases that do not look like you. A lot of times that the phrase has been said that it's not just the fact that there are bad apples, it's the fact that the good apples are remaining quiet. And what that means is we have to find ways to ensure that people behind the badge are held accountable the same way when we're being stopped as a potential for committing what may be a civil infraction or something even greater. But the fact still remains is these are job opportunities that they do come with a lot of respect. And despite folks who have, jaded views of law enforcement because of what's taking place and what we've seen across the state and across the country, these employment opportunities are still well regarded and they pay well, and you just want to make sure you're taking a look at that. And what I also want to talk about next is, how prepared are you for your next job employment? What does your resume look like? When's the last time you updated it? If you've been working consistently for the past 10, 15 years, you may have not updated your resume in that time. And that means that now is the time you want to take a look at your resume and figure out what you need to do to put your best foot forward. So let's start with someone who has very little experience. You may be still in college, fresh out of college, or you may be headed to college, but you're looking for a decent job. You want to put your best foot forward. Some of the things you can do, number one, is talk about yourself. If you're an exceptional student in school, you want to make sure that they're aware of that. If you have great attendance, put that down as well. You also want to talk about your personal characteristics or traits. If you know, or if someone can vouch for you as a reference to talk about how dependable you are, how reliable you are, how trustworthy you are, these are some of the things you want to have to make sure that you are not just laying on top or in the middle of a stack of resumes, but that your resume stands out. If you do have work experience and you have the experience that employers are looking for, you want to talk about that experience, but not just that you did the job, but how well did you do it? There's folks who you may work in an office, but did you save that company money? Did you streamline a business process where now, instead of having to go through 5 or 6 different people to sign off, you only have now 3 people? And it's not about your streamlining to cut employment, but those are just some of the things that people look at when they're looking to hire someone who is efficient both in their time management as well as the resources provided by that company or that business. If you can find ways to increase sales, increase foot traffic into a store or a business, these are some of the things you want to share. Now, you don't want to play all your cards, because if you put everything out there, it's no sense in talking to you. They can just take your ideas and implement them themselves. But you want to talk about how you specifically led that particular effort that led to an increase in foot traffic and patronage to a particular store or business. You also want to showcase some things that you would like to do in the near future. If you see a business, they've always done this one way, and they may not have taken full access of having a website, you can talk about how you helped either create one or you helped to run a website. A lot of businesses still to this day, especially the mom and pop level ones, they still need help in expanding. And if you expand into the internet, you want to make sure that you understand how to get your product out to folks. You want to know about shipping. You want to know about, should this go through FedEx, UPS, US Postal Service, or other means. These are just some of the things where you would have to look at it from a budgetary standpoint, where you want to make sure that the product is getting there in a timely manner, but you're also saving money. If you want to offer different shipping options to the customers, you want to make sure that the cost is covered, because if you say 2-day or same-day service, but it's going to cost $60 and you're only charging the customer $30, that other additional $30 is now eating into that business's profits. So your goal is to make that better than when you founded or when you were first hired. Like I said before, learning another skill. If you can do the graphics work, meaning that if you know how to take photography and take pictures to promote a particular business. I know there is a bakery that I see often online, and I got to tell you, they show some of the greatest pictures of baked goods for a variety of things: baby showers, anniversaries, weddings, birthdays, graduations. They have all types of ideas that they put out there, and you're not overwhelmed, but you're just surprised at the creativity that's out there. And the folks will tell you, okay, you're gonna pay for this creativity, so you want to make sure that you're getting the money you're making is covering the costs that you incur from your business. Because at the end of the day, you want to make a profit. That's why businesses are in business, to make a profit. So you want to be the one to make that bottom line look a lot better before you got there. What about, again, new skills? There are some new things you can learn about bookkeeping. There are ways you can learn how to manage businesses. There are ways that maybe you need to change your hours, have a different type of outreach. Maybe it's the building that you want to look at. Maybe if you add a brighter color, or you want to suggest maybe a different type of signage in the window or on the building. These are just some of the things that you can bring to the table that a lot of folks simply are not thinking about because they're so focused on getting their product out. You know, we talk about people who start out flipping burgers or working the fries. And we've also seen folks who, that's where they started, but now they own franchises. And I say that in the plural form. But even just owning one can be a huge life-changing moment for you and your family. The fact still remains is you got to have your training. Now, you may not want to go to a 4-year college or university, but you can take business courses. You can take them online. You can take them at the community college. You want to prepare yourself for everything that you're attempting to do because you don't want to go through and have to start over and crash and burn. So the focus you want to have is we're going to do everything we can to make sure that our business is one that lasts, because that's the kind of thing you want to do. And you ask yourself about, how can I take full advantage of everything that's on the computer? I know that personally I've been getting into Adobe, and Adobe is a graphics design software that you can pretty much create the types of flyers that most people would send out to a printing company to have designed and done. And if you can learn that and you invest a couple of $100 into the software, you could find yourself as a valuable asset for a number of businesses. And that can be your business, is just creating their logos, creating their flyers, creating their handouts, whereas promoting their business without saying a word, you're sending it out where they're reading it. You get familiar with how to utilize and take advantage of everything that's offered on social media. Social media gets a bad rap, and I've seen a lot of stuff that, why are people doing this? Why are they posting this? But there are some businesses that's their only means of advertising. They don't go out and buy radio and TV commercials, even though here at this station, the rates are pretty reasonable. But when you're starting out, you may not have that kind of a budget, so you want to take advantage of social media before you dip your toe into traditional media. We know that newspapers don't have the readership that they once had, but they have online newspapers, and that means they have to have online newspaper ads. These are just some of the ways that you can promote your business and get yourself prepared to be an asset to a business, whether it's struggling, whether it's just starting out, or whether it's really doing well. You could be that employee to make that business even better. So these are just some of the things that I want to leave you with, and I want you to think more about what is it that you like. You want to enjoy what you do. You don't want to feel like, oh, I got to go to work. No, you want to say, hey, I get to go to a job I really enjoy, where my input and my work is appreciated and rewarded by my salary and benefits and things of that sort. So those are the things I want to leave you with. And once again, please come out tomorrow and get yourself vaccinated at the Ford Recreation Center at 10 Pickens Street. The hours will be 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And whether you need the first dose, the second dose, or if you bring in someone for the first time, walk-ins are welcome. But let's work together to get ourselves vaccinated and make sure we flatten this curve so that we can get back to being engaged with one another, with both family and friends. Again, you guys have yourself a great week. I hope you have a great Monday. Prepare for heat because it's going to be a hot one. But enjoy yourself and be sure to come back next week for more Highland Park Highlights.